let's move on to topic number 2. And we were just talking about COVID, so let's continue that conversation. Excuse me. And that's going into the NFL now, where we were just talking about it. Every professional league is going to have to be dealing with this. And right now, some NFL teams are already dealing with it without the season even starting. We're talking about, just coming out of preseason camp and now getting ready for the first week. And teams are already dealing with COVID issues, mainly the Miami Dolphins right now.
Yeah, so it just came out that I think it was a day or two ago that Austin Jackson, the starting left tackle for Miami, tested positive for COVID. And then Adam Shaheen, who is, I believe, a reserve tight end for the Dolphins, he also tested positive for COVID. They know Shaheen, he's been kind of anti-vax this whole offseason, so he's going to be out for 10 days. We know he's not vaccinated. Jackson, we're not sure what the vaccination status is. So depending on what that is, if he gets 2 negative COVID tests in the next 24 hours, I think he can go back on the field. Over the next couple of days, depending on how quickly that turnaround is, if he is vaccinated. If he's not vaccinated, he's missing the Pats game, and possibly he might not make this week 2 game, depending on when exactly he tested positive. So just a tough situation for Miami. I mean, guys need to get vaccinated. I think that's been our stance this whole time. But this is going to be a reality of a lot of these teams. And, it's tough that these teams have to deal with this. You don't know which guys you're going to have each week. We sort of had some of this last year. You wonder if now guys are sort of letting their guard down and they're not, following the protocols as strictly as they did last year. But this is going to continue to happen throughout the NFL season. How much it'll happen, who knows? But it's going to happen again to some of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, I know I most recently seen, I believe it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that said they were 100% fully vaccinated. So if we can see more teams getting to that 100% fully vaccinated mark, that'll help, especially their teams. They're not going to have to worry about forfeiting a game, and it's really putting it in their opponents' hands that they might be the ones that have to forfeit at this point. So if I'm a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or also the Atlanta Falcons that also reach that 100% mark, I'm feeling good going into this season right now. And because my team's vaccinated, my coaches are vaccinated, everyone around my team's vaccinated, that we're going to have the best chance of getting through our season with minimal interruptions. And I think in a world right now with COVID, that is an advantage at this point right now, because like you might not have to be missing players or coaches or anything at this point. You could roll through your normal week and be preparing like normal, where a team like the Miami Dolphins at this point are pulling players aside to get tested and isolating players and having players test positive. So it's just something that's certainly not helping them going into game week against the New England Patriots, one of their biggest foes in a league rival. And they're having to deal with COVID issues on top of, getting prepared for a Bill Belichick team. So it's just really one of those things where, like you said, we've been fully, vocal on this show about being vaccinated and getting vaccinated. And I just think it's, one of these things where some of these players have to wake up and if they want to be a team player, not only for the NFL and for their teammates in the NFL, but how about for the world and for the country, be a team player, get vaccinated. Let's get out of this pandemic. Because right now it just seems like a lot of people are just being like, hey, we're going to accept the virus and kind of roll with the repercussions. But that's just kind of an idiotic way of thinking, in my opinion. And I don't know. Some of these leagues, I think, are doing the right thing, though, with stepping up and saying, hey, you're going to get vaccinated. Or in the NFL's case, if you have to miss a game, you're not going to get your game check. Or in college football, they're now saying, if a team has to forfeit a game, then they're not going to redo it. It's just going to be a flat out forfeit in an L. So it's just really one of those things where I think a lot of players have to wake up here and get vaccinated and get on board with this train that's rolling on to get us out of this pandemic.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you just look at this particular week, too, for the Dolphins. If Jackson doesn't play, he's the starting left tackle. I guess he wasn't having a great camp, but you're playing against the Patriots team who just completely retooled their front seven and now has a Matt Judon. Now has a guy like Josh Uche on the other edge, who's an emerging second-year player who can rush the passer. You now have a couple of guys in the middle in Godshaw, and you have Dante Hightower, who's going to be blitzing, and Kyle Van Noy, and now Chase Winovich. They can just use him as a third down rusher, and it's like, you're facing a team that might have a really good pass rush this year. Now you're losing your starting left tackle, and they might have to shift over Liam Eichenberg, who was a second-round tackle taken out of Notre Dame for them, who's a really good player, but they expect him to play at guard. They might now have to shift him to left tackle, and he's a rookie, so he's going to be going up against a Judon or somebody like that. So it's a sticky situation for the Dolphins in Week 1. I hope this doesn't last more than 1 week. But that's the other thing too. You get vaccinated, you can show up the day of a game and test positive, but at worst case scenario, you're just not going to play in that particular game. Then the next week you're going to be fine because you're vaccinated. And you only need a negative test, like we said, within 24 hours, a couple of negative tests. So that's that worst case scenario for a vaccinated player as opposed to an unvaccinated player who, like the Shaheen, who might have to sit out 10 days. So it's going to be a story going forward. Folks, if you like this show, you're watching it right now on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. That's Comeback Sports on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, Comeback Sports. And then all the cut-ups that our awesome producer, Ben Kudo, puts together after the show, that'll all filter to your YouTube channel. You don't have to go search for it. It's just right there in your subscriptions.